Australia's eastern seaboard is famous for its sunny beaches, bustling cities, and postcard-perfect coastlines. But travel a bit further north or off the beaten track, and you discover a side of Australia that few tourists ever see. The rugged, wild stretch known as the Dirt Coast. Stretching along remote parts of Queensland and up into the Cape York Peninsula, this is a land where paved roads give way to dusty tracks, river crossings, and endless horizons. And the best way to conquer this adventure in a trusty four-wheel drive camper. Today, let us explore 5 key aspects of driving Australia's Dirt Coast in a 4x2D camper, a journey filled with challenges, beauty, and the raw thrill of going where few dare to tread. Embracing the challenge of the open track. The first thing you need to know is that driving Australia's Dirt Coast is not your typical road trip. Forget the smooth highways of the Gold Coast or the Great Ocean Road. Here, you are facing corrugated dirt tracks, soft sand, deep water crossings, and unpredictable road conditions that can change with the weather. It is a drive that demands respect, preparation, and a solid understanding of how to handle a 4WD vehicle. From the moment you leave the last sealed road behind, the sense of adventure kicks in. You may find yourself crawling over rocky outcrops, maneuvering through tight bush trails, or powering through red dirt that kicks up clouds behind you. Each mile presents a new challenge. And that is exactly why people come here. The thrill of tackling a rugged track, knowing you are miles away from the nearest town, creates a sense of freedom few other journeys offer. And let me tell you, the first time you cross a swollen creek or navigate a tricky mud patch without getting stuck, you feel like a real explorer. It is not about speed or style. It is about grit, patience, and learning to trust both your vehicle and your instincts. That is when you realize this trip is as much about personal growth as it is about reaching a destination. Camping in the wild and embracing self-sufficiency. One of the biggest joys of a 4WD camper trip along the Dirt Coast is the freedom to camp wherever the wild takes you. With a camper fully stocked for off-grid living, you can pull over by a remote beach, a hidden billabong, or a quiet bush clearing and set up camp under the stars. There are no crowded caravan parks, no powered sites. Just you, your camper, and the vast Australian wilderness. This is where self-sufficiency becomes your greatest ally. You need to carry your own water, fuel, food, and camping supplies because services can be hundreds of kilometers apart. Knowing how to set up camp, cook on a campfire, manage your resources, and leave no trace on the environment becomes part of your daily routine. It is a challenge that many city dwellers are not used to, but it is also deeply rewarding. Imagine waking up to the sound of kookaburras echoing through the trees, or falling asleep with nothing but the soft rustle of the wind through the gum trees. These are the moments that make every challenge worth it. The feeling of being self-reliant in such a remote part of the world taps into something primal. A sense of connection with nature that you cannot get from a regular holiday. And here is something to think about. When was the last time you spent a night away from the noise, lights, and distractions of modern life? Out here, every night feels like a reminder of how simple and beautiful life can be when you strip it down to the basics. Encountering Australia's unique wildlife in its natural habitat, driving the Dirt Coast offers some of the best chances to see Australia's wildlife in its natural, untouched environment. Unlike the zoos or wildlife parks near the big cities, out here you see animals living freely, just as nature intended. Kangaroos bounding across the open plains, emus wandering near waterholes, and flocks of vibrant parrots cutting across the sky are common sights along the way. But it is not just the animals you expect. Northern Queensland and the Cape York region are home to some of Australia's most fascinating and sometimes dangerous creatures. Saltwater crocodiles sunning themselves along the riverbanks, wild pigs rustling through the underbrush, and the occasional snake making its way across the dirt track remind you that this land belongs to the wild. Respect for wildlife is key, not just for your safety, but because this is their home and you are the visitor. And then there are the incredible marine encounters. If your route takes you along the coast, you might spot dolphins, turtles, or even dugongs in the shallow bays. The Great Barrier Reef edges parts of this region, offering snorkeling and fishing opportunities in waters teeming with life. Whether on land or sea, the connection to nature feels raw and immediate. Here is something most people do not realize. Seeing wildlife in the wild changes the way you think about the world. It makes you appreciate how fragile and special these ecosystems are, and why they are worth protecting. Out here, every animal sighting feels like a gift, a reminder of how vast and alive this country really is. Discovering remote communities and local culture beyond the wilderness and wildlife. One of the most eye-opening parts of driving the dirt coast is the chance to visit remote communities and meet the people who call this rugged land home. Small Aboriginal communities, outback settlements, and roadhouses dot the region, each with its own unique story and character. These are places where people live far from the conveniences of city life, yet often show a warmth and hospitality that city visitors rarely expect. Stopping by a local roadhouse for fuel or supplies often turns into a chat with the locals, who are usually more than happy to share stories of the land, history, and the realities of life in such a remote area. Many Aboriginal communities offer cultural experiences, from guided walks to traditional art, giving visitors a deeper understanding of the land's ancient heritage. These encounters add a human element to your journey that goes beyond sightseeing. You begin to see this land not just as a place of adventure, but as a living, breathing community with its own rhythms and traditions. Respect and openness are key. Take the time to listen, to learn, and to appreciate the deep connection these communities have with the country around them. And here is a question worth pondering. How often do we travel through places without truly seeing them? Meeting the people of the Dirt Coast reminds you that every road and every settlement has a story waiting to be heard. Experiencing the sense of freedom only the Australian outback can offer at the heart of it all. Driving Australia's Dirt Coast in a 4WD camper is about freedom, the kind you do not find on a guided tour or a luxury resort. It is the freedom of open roads stretching beyond the horizon, of making your own decisions, facing your own challenges, and discovering parts of yourself you might not have known existed. The vastness of the land strips away distractions and pressures. There is no strict schedule, no crowded tourist spots, no mobile reception in many areas. Instead, there is space, endless space, and the freedom to fill it however you choose. Whether you spend your days tackling tough tracks, fishing in remote creeks, hiking to hidden waterfalls, or simply sitting by a campfire watching the stars, every moment feels yours to own. This kind of freedom leaves a mark. It reminds you that life does not have to be about constant noise and motion. Sometimes, the greatest joy comes from slowing down, from embracing the unknown, and from stepping outside your comfort zone. Out here, every challenge conquered, every sunset watched, and every quiet moment on a lonely track becomes part of a story you will carry long after the dust has settled on your tires. So here is something to consider. When was the last time you felt truly free? Maybe it is time to pack up, gear up, and hit the road less traveled. The Dirt Coast is waiting. If you have ever dreamed of an adventure that tests your spirit, connects you with nature, and leaves you with stories worth telling, this is it. The Dirt Coast is not just a destination. It is a journey into the raw beauty of Australia itself. And if this got your heart racing, make sure to check out our next video, where we share the essential gear you need for any remote 4WD trip. Because out here, being prepared can make all the difference.